These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. This episode of the Six Ranch Podcast is brought to you by Defend Security Cameras. What do you remember about the first cougar you ever saw?
Oh my. I just saw the tail. So, a flash in the headlights. That was my only accidental cougar I ever saw. First one, back in high school.
Where were you?
Oh boy, I grew up in Estacada.
Uh-huh.
So, back roads, Christmas tree farms. So, yeah, for first accidental cougar. I guess the next one was accidental too. Most of them are for most people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah. Until you figure things out a little bit more, then you can do it intentionally. But,
what kind of, did it have any kind of impact on you at all? Like this has become a thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. The first one wasn't a thing at all because, I was on my way to my girlfriend's house and that wasn't priority at those days. So,
different tale.
Yep. And, also it was still just a cougar in the headlights. There was no intention. There was no strategy. There was no hope of ever replicating it.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do with that,
Yeah.
Cougar at the night, maybe if it was the daytime, you could jump out and, hope it's not private property and, go for it. But, anyways, there's no play there. Nothing to get excited about, really.
Yeah. Were you hunting much at the time?
Just a little bit. That was just the beginning, right? That was, 16. I was just starting to drive.
Yeah.
So, just starting. But, that west side hunting's a little different.
Do you feel like hunting west side stuff gave you skills that people who have only hunted on the east side don't have? We're talking about, western versus eastern Oregon here. Western Oregon gets a lot of rain, pretty thick. Trees grow really quickly. There's a lot more brush. Visibility's not as good. Difficult hunting conditions for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know. I hunt solo a lot. I don't know. I don't want to presume what other people's strengths and weaknesses are, But, from starting hunting over there and then, I guess working in the woods, I probably learned more about, that probably helped more than actually hunting over there. Because when I was hunting over there, I was so young.
Right.
By the time I was working in the woods, I was, all day in the woods. And, you really have to figure things out if you're going to be out there in that kind of weather all day long, year round.
What kind of things did you figure out?
Mostly just being comfortable out there, layering, types of clothing, materials, things that keep you warm, but also mobile and things like that. Probably that's a bigger thing. Navigation's huge. Be another thing, especially in that brush and stuff. But
like just learning how to move around, or were you using a compass at the time or GPS?
No, it's less about like more intuitive. Spend that much time out there, you just learn it. It's not like you're using any tools or anything like that. It just you go where you want to go.
And what type of work were you doing in the woods?
Forestry. So I did. Out of college, I got into forestry. So I was just doing surveys, inspections, all sorts of stuff, from more technical things to just hardcore labor, just hiking, 10 plus miles a day, every day. So.
Well, what's involved in forestry?
Oh boy. A lot. Depends. I was more in the silviculture side of things. So planting inspections, thinning surveys, things like that. So that was a lot of my hiking in the woods. So
I do want to talk to you about hiking. You've developed a reputation as a guy who's willing to put on the miles. Didn't you do a through hike?
Yeah, absolutely. We did back in college. Actually, it was actually my girlfriend, now my wife's idea. She got excited about it, and I'm those days I'll do whatever you want, honey. That sounds like fun. I was glad it was she, but she was the one that kind of it was her idea. But yeah, we did it and had a great time. And
Which trail?
PCT. So Canada to Mexico, we did south to north. Yep, followed the season.
What time of year did you start?
I think it's April. Right when the desert's pretty habitable. Still getting pretty hot, but you start down there when it's before it gets way too hot and dry, and then you end in Canadian border right before. We got a little bit of snow on our last night up there, but right before it snows.
And that's 2,600 miles.
Yeah,
and change.
Yeah. So it's a long ways, but once you're up to speed, I don't know. It doesn't feel too bad. I'll just put it that way. You just once you kind of get your body acclimated to it, then not moving doesn't feel good. So the hiking part doesn't like kind of override the whole thing. You do get to enjoy it and look around and all that.
2,600 miles, and not super easy country either.
No. I mean, well, you're on trail. So for me, it was actually very easy because I've been working out in the woods, coastal clear cuts and thinning units. I mean, so for me, it was pretty easy. So I had already been working out in the woods a little bit. So it was a relief to be on trail. So it was long days, but you do have all day. Like you're literally not doing anything else. So, if you're only walking 2 miles an hour for 10 hours or 20 miles. So.
And is a 20-mile day kind of what your benchmark was? Is that what you're trying to get?
Yeah, that was kind of our standard. That was kind of what we planned on, and that's what we hit even after our 0 days. So you normally hike you take 1 day off a week or something. Kind of wherever town is. Normally you take your 0 in town and fatten up a little bit and hit the trail again.
Any idea how many calories you're consuming on a daily?
I'm not like type A like that. I just go for it, and that was kind of fun too because that evolved. We go into it, coming out of school, and I'd been working out in the woods a little bit, but still eating like what we thought was healthy at the time, which was a lot of kind of lower calorie kind of fancier foods, I guess. And by the end of that hike, I was eating a lot of eggs, a lot of eggs, a lot of cheese, just fat, protein, we've figured that out, like how much, when you're running hard like that, like exactly what it does to your body and how much more powerful you are with that in your belly.
Yeah. How would you manage eggs?
Oh, those are town days. You go into town and get like a double or triple, breakfast and just pound it. And then you feel good for like 2 days after that. And then you start getting weak again.
I recall from some of the books I've read about through hiking that there's usually like some gear piles in the first week of days where people are just jettisoning the things that they brought that they realized I don't need that weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
lasts for quite a while,
Yeah.
The first, I would say all the way through California, people are still figuring things out.
Did you have that learning curve? Was there stuff that you started with that you're like, all right, I don't need this?
We planned pretty good gear-wise. Most of the gear we started with, we finished with. We did pretty good gear-wise. I'd say the food was a big thing. We had prepared a lot of boxes of food, and we had family mail it to different towns along the way for so we wouldn't have to spend money. And a lot of these towns, just might have like a gas station, so not a lot of food options. So we thought, but when we actually got on the trail, we realized we'd rather eat what was available in the store than what we'd send ourselves, because we sent ourselves these, low calorie, healthy foods, and on the trail that just wasn't cutting it. We just put half of that in the hiker box and go buy a brick of cheese.
Yeah.
And some Snickers.
Yeah. Some of those dairy things are just so calorically dense. I think butter is like one of the only common foods that has more energy than TNT, like per ounce.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's other foods like that. I think a hamburger and a Snickers bar, but butter actually even has more energy than gasoline by weight.
That's crazy when you compare it to those. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
but butter's amazing. I eat a lot of butter now.
Yeah.
I just pack butter on a trip. And there are higher calorie fats too. Even olive oil I think is higher calorie per ounce, but I can't eat olive oil is easy. I can eat butter.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some of the Iditarod folks will just eat sticks of butter while they're out on the
Oh
trail.
yeah.
Just in calories versus weight. How many pairs of shoes did you go through?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I want to say we got, I really forget, probably 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 500 miles of shoe or something.
Something that thru hikers almost all do is they don't use hiking boots, right? What's really common are like trail runners. And,
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I really took that seriously when I learned about it, which is a long time ago. And I very rarely hunt in hiking boots. If I do, it's when it's cold and there's a thermal value to it. But you still wear like running shoes in the snow.
I do. Yeah. Shoes are huge. I don't know. I know there's people that, because they haven't worn shoes, because they wear boots with so much ankle support and things that transition might be hard. I know some people go out in shoes and then, they'll twist their ankles, pull a tendon or whatever. And that can be a struggle, especially if they don't, transition at home gradually. So I can't say it's for everybody. But once you switch, you just can't go back. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Once you get used to like not having an extra 2 pounds on your feet, and then also just having the mobility and like in tennis shoes, you grip the ground differently. So, if I go to like a stiff-soled boot now, I slip all the time because I'm just so used to using my foot flexing around things as traction. And then, then a luggy boot, you just have to use them a lot different. So you have to step different.
I'm the same way. And then a boot that's got some lift in it, like, these Crispies that I'm wearing, they're actually, I stand taller in these than I do in a pair of cowboy boots.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this leverage in this moment arm between my foot and the ground. And I'm really clumsy when I move into these when it's cold outside. I can't wait to get back into barefoot shoes when it warms up a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like heels to those drive me crazy more than anything now, having a heel, because I feel like that and ankle support kind of go together. Maybe those things were invented together. You put a heel on your boot, and then all of a sudden you think you actually do need the ankle support because you got this big lever, and you can just when you're pulling on that hard to describe that, but when you're pulling on that long heel, it's got a lot more leverage on your ankle, and you can just twist it a lot easier. So, but if you get rid of that heel, then you really don't need the ankle support. At least I don't. You're closer to the ground. When your foot isn't perfectly flat to the ground and it does want to roll, you just stop it because there's it's, I don't know, you don't have that mechanical disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree. You've got 20 acres, and your security camera can see about 50 feet from your Wi-Fi router. Your gate, your barn, your equipment, all the places you actually need to monitor, they're exactly where your Wi-Fi doesn't reach. That's where Defend security cameras make a lot of sense. They work on cellular, just like your phone. But here's what's clever. They've got an embedded SIM card that automatically connects to the best network in your area. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. It finds whatever's strongest. No choosing providers, no contracts, no hassle. I'm using Defend cameras at my place. You mount it, open the Defend app on your phone, and you're done. 10 minutes. Clear footage, night vision, instant alerts, and here's something you need to know. Defend doesn't sell your data. Not to China, not to tech companies, not to anyone. They work for you, period. Defend your place. Heels, this is getting way off track.
Yeah. Well, aren't we supposed to be talking about cougars or something?
Yeah, we're going to get there. The phrase well-heeled, that was a status symbol. So if somebody was well-heeled, that meant that they could afford a horse because they were in their riding boots.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
And I think that just carried on.
Yeah, possibly.
But you never know.
The one thing I want to say about the heels too is once you get away from them, what I noticed is my quads, on the downhills. I used to think that going downhill and, having your quads on fire and then being sore for a day or two after that was like normal, and you bomb off a mountain, 2 or 3,000 feet and then just be smoked for a day after that. I thought that was normal, at least for me. My quads would just be roasted, especially like right above the knees, and then switch to tennis shoes and that just goes away. So,
Yeah. It smokes my shins if I'm going downhill with heels on, because I'm like really resisting that rollover that my foot can't do.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, back to Cougars. When did this kind of start going for you that you're like, all right, I'm gonna go after this species?
It was kind of a somewhat gradual transition from actually being a hardcore mule deer hunter. I was really into archery, alpine mule deer hunting. I loved it. After college, I just I go up in the mountains for months, just scouting and really just enjoying being up there and then doing the archery hunting and really enjoyed it. But as that, I want to say as it slipped, but it was already slipping before that. I used to talk to old guys at the trailhead that just talked it up, and I was like, well, shoot, it's at a difficulty level that I still really enjoyed. I could go out for say like a week to 10 days, and turn up one buck. And that was back in say like, want to say in that 2010, 2012 range. And, if I put in a week, I could find a shooter buck, something, 170, 180 plus, and, it got to the point where, it wasn't even that many years after that, maybe another 5 years. And it got to the point where I could be out there for 2 days and not see a buck over 160, And so, I kind of started to lose, steam on the mule deer hunting because it just died out. There just weren't bucks up there to hunt. And, so I started transitioning into elk hunting a little bit more as far as archery goes. For cougars, I kind of stumbled in on an accident. And then once I discovered that I could do it and that it was a possibility, then I really turned my focus to it because I was like, hey, I can make a difference here. And it kind of took over. I just felt a lot better killing something that was more abundant. I think in most of these units now, that just to get any aged cougar, there's probably as many of those as there are like nice mature bucks in a unit. And so we're really looking for something that's more abundant than what I was looking for. So anyways, and hopefully someday make a difference and help the deer come back.
So here's two facts that are true that seem opposing. Oregon has more cougars than any other state. Cougar hunting in Oregon is the least successful hunt in the country. Right. Rounded to a whole number, the success rate for hunting cougars in Oregon is 0%.
I believe it.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's 0.013.
Right. I wonder what it is though, if you actually could, isolate how many people are intentionally hunting cougars too. It'd still probably be close, but.
Well, I mean, if that would be interesting to look at hunter effort. The state has that data because if you do harvest, it, asks you in the survey how many days of effort you put into it. But it's not easy. That's the point that I'm getting to.
Yeah, and continually it gets harder. So my first cougar that I got was actually in Idaho. Mm-hmm. So I realized that the thermal spotters were legal, and so I wanted to get into them. So I gave it a shot, and the first hunt coming up for that next year was spring bear. So I was like, well, this will be fun. I'll go over to Idaho and thermal up some spring bears, fill some tags, help them out, and have a good time. And I had to work because I'm a private contractor, seasonal. Like once work starts, I'm not. I don't have I'm self-employed. I got to get the job done. Yeah. So anyway, I did an early spring bear hunt. I think we went out it was like April 2nd or 3rd or something, super early, and I knew the odds of finding a bear were somewhat low, but I've got this new technology in my pocket. I'm like, maybe I'll turn one up anyways. I'll get that big boar that comes out early or something, right? That's not what happened. So I backpacked in, and me and my wife and our new little puppy was like, I don't know, she was probably like 6 months old or something, but she could barely walk up there, but she did it. And she was kind of pathetic actually up there. She did not like the cold. It was funny. But Yeah, it was crazy. We hiked in probably like 7 miles or something. We got just
Just to clarify, you're talking about the puppy right here, right?
what's that?
That was kind of
Oh yeah, the puppy.
Okay,
Sorry
yeah.
if that was unclear. Yeah, no, my wife she kicks butt. So
Yeah, of course.
We did the PCT. She had no problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we hiked in like 7 miles, and we got kind of to like the first burn. Most of the hikes like kind of grassy stuff leading up to the wilderness line and stuff. And so we get to the first burn, and that first evening, I was seeing some deer out in this burn, and it was pretty cool. I saw some, quite a few deer in there. I was like, oh, this is neat. Just testing out the new thermal, right? It's pretty neat. But then I spotted a cougar. It was like 1,000 yards away up at the head of this burn, and at first, I couldn't see it. I could see the hot spot with the thermal, and it took a little bit for my eyes to calibrate because I wasn't looking for a cougar. I was looking for a deer. I just figured, I was just checking every spot looking for deer, and I think, maybe a bear. But eventually, my eyes just like calibrated, and all of a sudden, there's a cougar face right in my spotting scope. I'm like, oh my goodness! And so I watched it for just a little bit in the spotting scope, and watched it try to get a deer, which it didn't. It kind of got close, but it was kind of a half-ass stalk. It just kind of made a quick lunge at it and then gave up. Didn't seem real motivated. But anyways, so I once I kind of gathered my stuff, and I ran back and communicated with Carly what I was doing, and then ran up there and shot that cougar. So just ran into like whatever 100, 200 yards and shot it with my old childhood rifle.
Yeah.
And this was before, because I had always archery hunted. This is I never really used rifles, so 200-yard shot even was 50-50 for me. I don't know what this gun did. I didn't even.
Yeah.
I knew that it hit a paver at 100. That's all I knew.
Wow. Yeah. Got it done.
Yeah, got it done.
And then what was that cat? Male, female, big,
I believe
small?
that was a male, pretty good sized male.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I just still thought it was kind of a one-off thing. I was pretty jacked about it, of course, but I still didn't realize quite the potential there. And so we hiked out. I'm like, well, this is good. I got a cat. I'm not like, let's not grind, So we got a cat. We went back down and cleaned up. I think we went back to town, even checked the cat in, and sat in the hot springs, and then we picked a new ridge to go up and hunt like the next day, and then the next evening I saw another cat. And I was like, oh boy, I'm onto something here. Yeah. So that was kind of my first hunt with the thermal, and my first exposure to cougar hunting. Right? That was kind of my first entry into methods for cougar hunting.
What year would that have been?
Oh boy,
Ish.
I don't know. Probably, I want to say like 15, 16.
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I'd have to look at pictures or something. I'm not good with that stuff.
And then how did it escalate from there?
Well, I just brought the same system, like kind of the same method over to Oregon, I guess, because back then it was legal in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So so thermal hunting was legal in Oregon, and so I put a little more effort, more energy into understanding the thermal, how it worked, when it'll work, the best kind of places to use it, and timing to use it, and all that sort of thing, and kind of push that idea quite a bit farther and specialized using it just for cats. And I came to realize that really I kind of got lucky with that first hunt in Idaho, because it actually was about the peak, because I've done a lot of that hunting throughout the year now, and it always comes back to that's kind of the peak time for the thermal hunting. And I think that's their peak, like they're really mobile because they're in their peak breeding season, but also they're starting to look for elk calves and stuff. I think they're really active on those open slopes on the winter range, or on the like calving grounds when it starts to green up a little bit.
And they can breed any time of year, but there are times of year that are more common than others. Yeah. Interesting. It's also a transitional weather time of year where maybe a kill won't last as long.
Yeah.
Unless it's like down in the north or a creek bottom, someplace where the sun can't get to it. But as it's starting to warm up in April, they can't just come back and continue chewing on that thing for a large number of days. It just won't last. Other stuff will find it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're probably doing more of their killing on those south slopes with screening up first, because that's where all the deer and the elk are. So would imagine, they're not probably killing as much on the north slopes either, where it would last longer and they could actually feed on it for a week.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So you brought it back to Oregon, and did you find some success here?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that went well. I mean, I just got better and better at it. So I went from, I would say I was averaging probably 10 days of hunting per cat those first couple years, I think for 2 years or so. And then I got it down to about probably 3 days.
And what changed? Like what changed about what you were doing to make you that much more efficient?
Probably mostly timing. Timing, location, but time. There's a lot of things to time, so we're not just like timing one thing. It's time of the year, the weather,
What condition?
daily activities.
What conditions would you look for?
So thermal works during the day as long as there's not direct sunlight. So you're looking for heavy overcast. So yeah, if you're thermal hunting, if that's your goal, which we can't do here anymore. But yeah, you're hunting. You're focusing on those cloudy days.
Yeah,
a little drizzle in the middle of the day is really nice. Resets if you're getting a little bit of solar coming through and heating up rocks, which will start to look like an animal at long range. If you get a little drizzle in the middle of the day, it kind of resets everything, and you can hunt all day long.
and I want to be really clear with everybody. I'm not advocating for anyone to break the law. We're just talking about the history of Joe Lewis, who is one of the best and most effective cougar hunters in Oregon, and talking about how he got this way. So
yeah, and I'm perfectly okay with talking about the thermal. I know it's kind of a taboo subject, but it's a really good method for harvesting cougars, and unfortunately, it was taken away from us. So I wish more people would have maybe adopted it earlier. I wish politics maybe were a little different in the state. And they handled it different. That would have been nice. But it is a good tool for hunting cougars. It's very it's still a challenging hunt. It's not like it's a cheat code. You still have to go out and do a lot of work. It's an enjoyable hunt, and you're not going to over harvest cougars with it because you're still lining stars. You're trying to find a cat out in the open and kill it. So you still have to be good and pretty aggressive with it to get the job done, but it's possible. It made it possible. It brought it into like the range of like say the amount of effort you put into like an elk hunt. You're like, oh, at the end of the week I'll probably get an elk. Right now, at the end of the week you'll probably get a cougar. If you put in a whole hard week of hunting.
Yeah. And since we can't trap cougars, we can't use dogs to pursue cougars. We have very, very few options that are effective. So it is a shame that was taken away, and I understand, the reason why, and that a bunch of folks on the west side were using them to find black-tailed deer and clear cuts, and people felt like that was an unfair advantage. I totally understand that sentiment. However, we don't have many tools for hunting cougars. We need everything that we can. So it would be cool if somebody would reconsider that and give us an exception.
Absolutely. I mean, and you saw what Idaho did this year, right? I mean, what Idaho did really communicates to the public, to the hunters, that they're on our side. I feel like a lot of the things that our state does, they don't. It shows that they don't really.
Explain what you're talking about with Idaho for people.
So
who
Idaho,
don't know.
they instead of banning thermal entirely, they did a seasonal ban. So you can't use thermal during big game seasons. What is that? August through December, and so you can still use it from the first of the year till August. So you can use it for cougars and spring bear, and you can use it for wolves, and because they understand that predator management matters, and they want there to be deer and elk on the landscape for people to hunt. I don't feel like that's necessarily the case in Oregon. They don't really care that we have a surplus of deer and elk for hunters.
It can feel like that sometimes. I believe that everybody probably wants there to be an abundance of wildlife. Not everybody wants people to be able to hunt. And I want people to be able to hunt for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that hunters are the ones who are paying for all of the wildlife management to occur, right? And nobody else is stepping up to do that. So that money is coming from hunters and it's coming from recreational shooters. Yeah.
Right now we have to pay for, all these cats that, because they're largely unmanaged, most of the territories are occupied by older cats, and all the younger cats are struggle to survive, and so they end up nuisance animals. They end up in people's barns and stuff, and hunters are paying government employees to. That's coming out of license sales.
Yeah.
So we're paying somebody else to do something that we would pay to do. Like we would happily do.
And California is a great example of that. They banned cougar hunting in California when Ronald Reagan was governor. And people did that because they didn't want cougars to die, right? That was the thought. If we ban cougar hunting, the cougars don't die. Yeah. They killed more cougars in the following years by using, wildlife damage control officers than they had in the previous years with hunters. So now more cougars are getting killed, except now it's by tax dollars.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me. But people don't understand. I think that their hearts are in the right place, but maybe their minds aren't. All right. So moving along. Thermals get banned in Oregon. And that is tough. That throws a wrench in the gears.
Yeah, man, I was on a roll. I was pretty excited. I was bagging 2 cats every year.
Yeah.
Going over to Idaho a little bit too. And yeah, they kind of pulled the rug out from under me. I was pretty heartbroken.
So then what do you do?
Pretty pissed after it. Actually, it kind of seemed a little bit personal. I know there was a lot of, say, like West Side. There's a lot of factors involved. But the fact that they banned it for everything, for even scouting, for cougars, for anything, I was pretty upset about it.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I felt like at the time was kind of our saving grace. Yeah, I was like, okay, this is our maybe our like I don't know, our new ethical way to do it, right? That's something the public might not like, but maybe won't get stirred up about enough to vote it, to ban it. Mm-hmm. I didn't think Fish and Wildlife would be the ones that ban it. But anyways, they did.
Yep.
So then I guess I took what I learned about cats during the thermal days. And I got to see a lot of cats. I got to see where they were, what they were doing, things with the thermal. And so then I kind of try to use those ideas and start using an older tool, which is the electronic collar. Mm-hmm. So I picked up the collar like everybody else is doing. Not a lot of people, but some people. And I didn't like the way that was working real good. So I ended up making some custom like sound files to play, and I felt like that performed a lot better. So I think combine the calling with things that I knew about cougars, where they'd be, when they'd be there, and things that really helped a lot. Yeah.
What are some of those lessons that you could, maybe share with people about where to find them?
There's so much to it. Depends on where you're at. West side, east side.
Let's say east side.
East side. Time of the year. It's big. There's a lot of people that really focus on cutting tracks in the snow. Mm-hmm. So they're really snow dependent, weather dependent, and they like to drive around and cut tracks and follow the tracks and try to call the cat back, and that can work. It does work. I haven't had that much luck with it. I found, maybe I could pull it off now, but unless the snow conditions are just right, like with a normal pickup, you have a hard time covering enough ground in the snow without getting stuck. Like you just, maybe the first couple snows of the year, you can kind of pull that off before you have any crusty layers. But that ends pretty quick, and it's a short season. Especially some years, you just get a foot or two of snow, and then right away in the fall, and you're kind of kind of toast unless you got something with tracks.
Or you have years like this where we have no snow at all.
Yeah, those guys are like just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. There's
Yeah.
not a lot. There's not a lot of tracks to be cut right now.
And if you don't have tracks and you're just calling, it is a hope and a prayer that
Kind of, but that's where I got most of my cats calling was blind calling. I didn't do a whole lot of calling on tracks.
yeah. So when you're blind calling, you would go out for days on end and do really long sets, right?
I still like backpacking.
Yeah.
So I like to use that to my advantage. It does help, and it does help a lot. I'll say that the backpacking helps a lot, because I can get to places. I won't even say places that like people aren't hunting, because people aren't hunting anywhere right that time of year. In the winter and in the spring, really, there's maybe a couple shed hunters out, but it's not like there's hunting pressure or anything you're trying to avoid. But our elk herds are struggling as well, and they're getting fewer and farther between. And so you have to find the deer and the elk to have good success calling, I think. So like the backpacking helps because, say, like one of my bigger toms, and I actually have the video on YouTube. I think I only have I don't have a whole lot of hunts on YouTube, but that's one that made it. I got it on film, and anyways, I think I was probably 10 plus miles in before I found the elk, and I didn't see a single elk for at least 10 miles, and then there's one of those herds that's like 200 elk, and so I set up kind of cross canyon from that, and did a longer call set. The cat, I think it took a couple hours to come in. I think I spotted after about an hour, and he was being really, really lazy. I spotted him like walking across an open grassy slope, and then he'd bed down. And so I tried to mix up the calls to try to get him up again, but he's a big old lazy tom. And he did eventually come in close enough, I think like 300 yards, and then I hiked down to maybe 200 and then shot him. But
so he bedded down multiple times, didn't he?
oh yeah. He was not in a rush. It was interesting. I don't know if he was going to wait till what his plan was, or he was going to wait till dark, or what he was doing. But
And
I don't know.
dude, didn't you shoot a cougar one time and then have another cougar come in and eat it?
Yeah, I did. And that's another story, because that's not calling. That would be a segue into my next method. But on this one, the backpacking helped because I wasn't in a rush. I was 10 miles in, and I'm like, I'm going to sit here and call till dark.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing else to do. What are you going
Right.
to do? You just sit around and listen to a podcast or something,
Yeah.
And so, and that's what I do. So like on the long sets, when especially backpacking and stuff, it's nice because, you've got a lot of time. So you take whatever it is, 30 minutes to go set the caller up, 200 or 300 yards away, hike all the way back to where you're sitting, and then you can set up camp, and you really can move around quite a bit and run the jet boil and be comfortable and listen to music and stuff, and it's not a big deal. So the cat's not looking your way, and it's not going to smell you. It's you've got a lot going for you. You've got a good advantage on your call and things like that, and you're not in a rush. So I just sat there. So I think I had like 3 hours till dark on that particular cat. But that's where the backpacking comes in, because you're comfortable, you're somewhat bored. I mean, you have nothing else to do, so you're like, well, let's play the caller and hang out,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably lose a lot of cats just because of that rush. You're like, you're kind of bored. So most people, when you get bored, you move on, you get up and you leave. But if you're backpacking, you're already 10 miles in, you're tired. You're like, well, I'm not walking home, so you just hang out.
The general rule on calling coyotes is like 15, 20 minutes and then bounce. And some guys will wait around for 30 minutes. There's also guys that will only do a 5-minute stand, because a large portion of your coyotes are going to show up at 3 or 4 minutes. But I'm more of like the 20, 25-minute guy a lot of times. And there was one particular evening that was like that, where I knew I couldn't make it to another stand. So this was it. And I was just like, I'll just wait until dark. And at very last light, I watched this coyote jump over the top of a 4-strand barbed wire fence, like 500 yards away, sprint in, came into like 80 yards, started howling his brains out, and shot it. And that was at minute 53 of that stand.
Interesting. I wonder what was going on with that coyote. Like, was it sitting over there waiting? Was he trained?
I don't know. I have 2 theories that make me comfortable and one that makes me uncomfortable. The first comfortable theory is that he was just cruising along on his little coyote way and got close enough to hit the distance that my sound could carry, and then he zoomed in. The next theory is that he was waiting for dusk. He wanted it to get darker before he felt confident enough to commit.
Yep. And
then the least comfortable theory of all is that he was listening the entire time, and that's how long he waited, and then he just couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
If that last one is the reality, it's almost enough to make me want to stop hunting coyotes, because
yeah, if you have to sit on every stand for an hour.
I can't do 53-minute stands every time. Like I get twitchy. So, all right.
You have to go into those long sets totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. You have to be prepared for it. You have to,
yeah.
Because you get cold, in the winter after about, what do you say, 30 minutes? Definitely you're starting to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I bring a foam pad to sit on. That makes a big difference. Your legs don't go numb nearly as fast if you've got something to sit on. Get comfortable. Make sure that you've got all the supports for your optics and for your rifle so that everything's ready, minimal movement, and have a vantage point. But something I really consider with coyotes is, I used to set myself up in these positions where I just commanded a huge area and I could see everything, and just gave myself every possible advantage. And what I realized is I wasn't thinking about it from their perspective. And if I'm a coyote and I want to come in, I want to do so as a hunter and be able to protect myself as much as possible. So I started disadvantaging the way I was setting up my own stands to allow a coyote to feel a little bit more comfortable for the routes that he would want to take in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good point. That's one thing. I guess I do cougar calling as well, but I put the caller so far away from me that I feel like I put the caller in the disadvantaged spot, but I'm still sitting in the advantage spot. So exactly. I do it's a lot of leg work, but for a long set, it's worth it. If you're going to do it for a 15-minute set, you're not going to walk for half an hour to, set up a 15-minute set. But
right.
But for the cougar sets, you're it's more of an investment. Right?
So what's the minimal amount of time that you'll set when you're trying to call in a cougar?
It depends on the circumstances, but probably minimum worst situation, probably 30 minutes. Yeah. On a really windy day, say, if I got a picture of a cougar on a game camera, I know that it just walked by, and it's fairly windy. So it's kind of worst case scenario, I would say. And it's not real open country,
Yeah.
So then I'd go out there and maybe call for 30 minutes. And I'm he's either going to be close or he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be at least far enough that he's not going to be able to hear my call, because the call doesn't go very far on a windy day.
Yep.
Yeah. And so if he's that close, he's probably going to just come in. I think it's the far ones that really lollygag in.
So a cougar can hear about 3 times more of the sound band than we can. They can hear ultrasonic frequencies that are way outside of normal human hearing. So ours stop at 20,000 hertz. Cougars go up to 70,000 hertz. So those really high pitched sounds that we're incapable of hearing, they're really tuned in on. But ultrasonic frequencies don't travel very well in wind.
Interesting. They probably do well. Yeah. Oh, is it the opposite? I think high frequency travels good in open air, right? And then low frequencies in timber and stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, because it goes around things. Do distressed animals produce that higher frequency?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, we just can't hear it.
But that's why I'm curious.
But it's in there.
Okay.
Think about it like light. We can see this portion of the light spectrum, but we've also got ultraviolet and infrared and radio, all these other lights that are outside of what we can see. They completely exist. To you and me, if we step outside right now, it's dark. But if we could see infrared, it's not dark.
No, not at all.
It's not dark at all. So it's just a matter of perspective, and I think it's important to understand that a lot of these predators hear ultrasonic frequencies substantially better than we do in ways that are almost impossible to imagine.
Yeah. So yeah, wind is huge.
Yeah, wind is huge.
Yeah, so if you've got a calm day, I mean, even I can hear a call from 2 or 3 miles away and in the right topography and on a calm day. So a cat's probably hearing it from even farther.
Yeah.
So, I haven't experimented enough with the really ultra long call sets. I'd like to do more of that. I've just been distracted with the new method for a little while, but I do think that's another type of calling that can be explored and
What's
figured out.
What does ultra long mean to you?
I'm thinking a couple days.
Yeah.
Like camping out on a call.
I like it.
Yeah.
Got to have the right mindset for that. You got to have some faith.
I don't know. I think there's a breaking point where, if you're watching a call for 2 days, you're mostly just camping, right? You're just hanging out. You're just going on a camping trip, and there just happens to be, something to watch, and maybe a cat will come in,
But you have to have the discipline to stay in your glass and pay attention. Like you can't be just napping and blowing dandelions.
I do think with all the calling methods, I do think you need to find a way to love what you're doing. Regardless if you're successful, because if you don't, you probably won't be successful because you just won't be able to follow through with it. Whatever the method is, some people can't sit in a tree stand, but some places a tree stand works really good if you believe in it and you enjoy it. If you're willing to go out there and enjoy it, even if you don't get something, you're probably going to stay there long enough to get something.
Yeah. I mean, the tree stand advantage is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
It's absolutely massive. And there's some like physical things about it that are helpful. Like elk pupils don't allow them to see up very well. A lot of your scent goes straight up and not out, and doesn't fall to the ground. So you get this little bubble around you. Even if something comes in and like cuts straight under your tree, a lot of times they can be downwind from you straight under your tree and they won't catch you because your scent's going out over the top of them. But I call it like the game camera theory. Like you can pick a tree and hang a camera off of it, and eventually it will take a picture of an animal.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
it waits forever. My little reveal cell camera is my most loyal employee. It's just toughing it out there. So the tree stand kind of forces you to have that type of mentality, and that's why it's super effective.
Yeah, if you're going to be successful. But that goes with all of them. I mean, even like backpacking. Like I love backpacking. I went and hiked the PCT. I really enjoyed it, right? But there's a lot of people that when they're backpacking, I think there's a whole group of people that feel like they're like on a military mission, or they're doing something that sucks.
Yeah.
In order to like achieve a goal.
Right.
Whereas like I really enjoy the backpacking part of it. So I'm I guess I just don't feel like I'm struggling out. I'm not like, that's not an overwhelming feeling that I'm like suffering. The suffering isn't a thing because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I guess.
Yeah. It's very popular right now to go suffer intentionally.
Yeah.
And,
but that's weird. I like, I mean, I guess you could technically say that like a lot of the hunts I do, I really enjoy what most people would call suffering,
Mm-hmm.
But because I enjoy it, it's not really suffering because I'm in control,
Okay.
Yeah. Like those are my favorite hunts, like, the ones that I'm probably like, there's some risk involved,
Well, yeah,
but I'm
but
suffering enough, and
you're still working hard to make sure that you're comfortable throughout all this.
Yeah,
right?
I have enough experience so that I can. I have the right gear, and I'm making the right decisions throughout the day, so that I'm relatively comfortable. Yeah.
Well, let's get to the new method to the extent that we can. So, folks, Joe has a masterclass that he's put out on this. So we're not going to spill all the beans, but I do want to talk about it a little bit. And at least establish your credibility and tell people, like, despite the advantages that have been taken from you, like, what are you trying to do now? How does it work?
Yeah. So after calling for a little while, I kind of stumbled into a new method, and I feel like this one's a little more approachable for a lot of people because there is a little bit less suffering involved. It's efficient and very approachable for a lot of people with schedules, with modern life and everything, and physically, because I know a lot of people don't like backpacking. They don't, especially in the winter and stuff. So the new method is baiting. You know the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So baiting, I stumbled in this accidentally. So I was actually out calling. I went a backpack calling trip. This was in. I'll just say it because I don't care. I don't even hunt the same place twice. There's too many places to hunt down the same place twice, especially for cougars. Once you kill, especially the big tom, it's going to be.
We can give it a made up name.
Okay, I'll call it.
Carly Creek.
I'm not good at this sort of thing.
Carly
There
Creek.
we go, Carly Creek. Okay, so I was. This sounds weird. I'm not doing that. Okay, so. So I was going into some winter ground, a big drainage, doing some cougar calling. I was going to go in for like 4 days or something. I forget. But backpack trip, middle of I don't know what it was, January or something. You know, things were froze up pretty good. But I was only like hiking in like 3 miles, and on this trail's kind of on pretty open ground, kind of on a south slope, and only like 3 miles in, I just saw a cougar just like walking across a snowbank by the creek. There's not very much brush down there. It's real open, and just walking across a snowbank. And so I was like, how lucky can I be? I'm like ready to just like I'm in this mindset. I'm like ready to go do this thing, you know. And I'm like, crap, well, here's a cat. so I shoot the cat, and excited about it. It wasn't the biggest cat. It was like it was a 2-year-old male. And I shot it, and I do like the cougar meat, and so I quartered it and hung it in a tree. I don't know, I don't remember exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking more for birds because I want to continue the hunt, and so I hung it in a tree in some orange, kind of lightweight game bags, probably 8+ feet up, and continue my hunt because I actually had 3 tags on that hunt because. I was going to cross state lines. Mm-hmm. So I was going big on this. I was like, I'm going to call. I'm going to, like, this is primo winter ground and stuff, and it's good timing and everything. I'm going to get 2 cats. I'm going to cross the state line and maybe get another one. And didn't quite go that well. But I was close. But anyways, I did the hunt. I did get into a lot of tracks. I didn't call another cat in. But on my way out, maybe like 3 days later, I was coming back to my meat stash, and I was actually walking by the bighorn sheep because there's a herd of ewes there, and I was kind of just talking to them because that's what you do when you're out in the woods by yourself and you talk to the animals, and kind of joking. It's like, aren't you guys happy I killed that cat for you and stuff like that, And then I looked down, there's just a giant cougar track in the snow, and I was like, oh no. And it was headed right towards my meat. And so I walked over there, and sure enough, that cat had jumped up in the tree and pulled my meat down, and it eaten like half of it and buried the rest and shredded the hide because it could smell that there was a young tom, so he wanted to make a point.
Wow.
And so that's what happened. So I because it buried the meat, I did sit there for the next day, and I did some calling there, pretty timidly. I was not trying to call real aggressive because I'm like, I already have his meat cache here, right? So I'll just sit it out. But I had things to get home for. I had stuff I couldn't. If I had just had there for another day, probably maybe I just got him down there. But there was a little bit of a rush, and then I went. I went to track him down because I was like, I can't just sit here anymore. I think it had already been 12 hours or something. And so I went up the drainage. I could see his tracks in the snow. It crossed the river, which was a lot of water. I was surprised he crossed. It was like thigh deep. And I tracked him up the draw, and this was like spring. So there was kind of like snow in the draw, and then there was like muddy out on the slope. So I was actually able to just walk right to him. And he was, I found him on the slope. He was, I think I spotted him when he was only like 250, 300 yards away, something like that. And he was just right above this group of deer. So I saw the deer, and then I was looking around, and I was like, oh, he's just sitting right above him on the rock. It was pretty cool. But I was trying to film it. I was being a little cocky, and I was trying to film it, and I didn't have a setup then too. I was still trying to put my phone behind my binoculars, like mounted up on some rocks, and it was taking too long, and the wind was bad, and so I was looking through my phone, and I saw that he smelled me, and I was like, no, and I couldn't get to the gun fast enough, so I lost him. But anyways, long story, but then I realized what happened, and I started thinking, I was like, man, how do I make this happen again? I was like, that seems like something that seems like I'm onto something, right? I was like, I think, just the whole bait thing, right? So I'm like, this cat, jumped in a tree and took a bright orange game bag full of meat out of a tree. Like, I wouldn't think that they do that, right? Just because there's human scent, it's an orange bag, Yeah. It's like there's a lot of things that you could improve even if you were trying to do this. But anyways, first off was getting back to town and figuring out if it was legal, and surprisingly, really wasn't that hard. I mean, it doesn't say that it's illegal in the regs, so
right. And it's a really interesting point about laws, rules, and regulations. They only tell you what you can't do.
Yeah.
Right. So if there isn't something out there that says you can't do this, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's never a war crime the first time.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that's really interesting how just like public got this idea that it was illegal. I kind of thought that it was, but I just want to double check because I'm like, crap, this is a method that would work. So I just want to verify, and when I actually looked at the text, I was like, well, it's definitely legal. But yeah, like every step of the way. Anybody you ask, the first time I asked the biologist about it, I actually took that cougar into the field office, and there was, trying to remember what year this was. I just remember there was a lot of biologists there because, and I'm trying to remember why. There was one time that during COVID they wouldn't check in cougars, and so like one time I brought in like 5 cougars at one time, and there was a lot of people there.
Yeah,
yeah. And I think it was that time because there was like five biologists there, and I asked them about it, and they all said it was illegal.
Yeah,
I was like, well, that's interesting. How can it be? Because it doesn't say it in the regs. And they said, well, there's more rules that aren't in the regs. I was like, well, that doesn't seem like it would hold up in court. First off, but please show me, like what are these rules that aren't published,
right?
And they're like, they're in the computer. So they went back and looked at the computer, and they came back out, and they're like, they said, well, it doesn't say that it's illegal. And so we went back and forth, and we kept, really looking as hard as we could, and I mean, it's very clear that it's illegal. It's just one of those things that just got in everybody's minds for some reason. Everybody thinks it's illegal.
Well, and a lot of people believe that a cougar won't eat old meat. That's not true.
Nope. And which might be why it's legal, and maybe they just didn't realize, the people that were, against killing cougars in general. Which was appropriate back in the day, right? There was a point in time where they needed the help, and there was a big public push to help the cats. But anyways, at that time, I don't think it was a very feasible method because we didn't have the technology back then, and also there wasn't the understanding of the cats. And so I think they did leave it out. I'm sure they would have banned it if they'd known about it, that they recognized that it was a possible method, but they didn't.
The reveal cell cams are a pretty important part of this recipe now.
Yeah. A lot of new things. Good way to invent new things is just to combine, right? Like binocular vision, right? Two scopes are better than one, right?
Yeah, see
a lot better. So finding things that pair up like this give you they're better than the individuals, right? The cell cameras with the baiting makes it work.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a lot of nuance to this.
Yes,
and I learned about this the first time I was hunting in Africa because one of the other hunters who was in camp wanted a leopard, and they were setting up a leopard bait, and it was meticulous. It was meticulous how they went about every aspect of setting up this bait, and the site they chose, how they built their blind, the trail into the blind. And some of these things from how leopard are baited in Africa do translate to the way you're running baits for cougars here in Oregon. But there's also a lot of nuance and difference. And is that the kind of stuff that you're getting to in this masterclass?
Exactly. When the idea comes up, so I'm pretty open about it. I want people to go Cougar, so I could keep this to myself and just keep filling tags and having it all to myself. But I would like other people to help, because my ultimate goal is to get back to deer hunting. I would like us to have some reasonable deer hunting in the future.
And the same with elk. We've had about 30,000 elk in Wallowa County my whole life, and now we're at 12,000. It's grim out there, folks. Like, it's not just mule deer, and there's a lot of people from all over the country that come here to hunt. A lot of people from the western side of the state that come here to hunt. Those opportunities are not going to continue to be there. And elk is to Eastern Oregon what salmon is to Western Oregon and Western Washington. Like, that is our protein. It's iconic. There's a social and ecological value there that cannot be replaced.
That's a really good point. I used to, I guess, from about the time I moved out of my parents' house, like until pretty recently, I didn't eat anything but wild game meat. I didn't buy, chicken and beef and things at the store. I just ate wild game, right? It's harder and harder to do, right? Mm-hmm. I eat a lot more beef and pork now, and cougar, cougar and bears. Well, those are delicious.
We've got access to some pretty fancy pork.
We do. It's really good.
Yeah. Thank you, Square Mile Ranch.
But but it's it should be a resource. It should be something we could be able to depend on. I mean, we should have abundant natural resources that we shouldn't be throwing them away.
We have the habitat. We have the terrain. Yeah. We have everything that we need, but when the predator population gets too high, then the prey population can't stand up to it. And that is the situation that we're in. So we need people not only to predator hunt, but to do so effectively. And if you're talking about something with a 0% success rate, well, folks, we got to try some new stuff.
Yeah. So I think I was at like 100% until like last year, because I was trying to get cats for other people. So I'm on the right track. So where I was going with that earlier, I guess, is I'm pretty open about it. And I do put up the videos and pictures on Facebook and stuff. Yeah, I'm an old man. I still use Facebook, and I haven't switched over to TikTok and stuff like that. But I put it on there, and the concept's not rocket science, right? It of course, put out some bait and a game camera. But there's a lot that can go wrong there. There's a lot of details you have to get right. Otherwise, the whole thing doesn't work. And that's what I want to help people just make, just take the shortcut, and I have been helping a lot of people. Like, I spend so much time on the phone, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this too, is like, I got to get off the phone. I'm spending so much time, not working, not spending time with the family. I'm texting people, answering questions about how to bait, how to do the other methods too. But I need some distance from that. I need to just be able to put this up, and I want people to be doing it. I want people to be successful at it. But I can't be on the phone all the time.
Where can people find it?
So it's at moderncougarhunting.com. And but I guess what I was going to say real quick is it seems like an easy idea, right? It does seem easy, but I have yet to see anybody else do it. I kind of get these remarks on Facebook a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, that's they kind of downplay it a little bit." Yeah. And I'm like, "Where's your cougar?"
Yeah.
I don't say it because I'm not antagonistic like that most of the time. But I'm still not seeing people killing them yet. So there's got to be something to it. Like, so I think there is a learning curve. There's a lot of things you have to get right. And if you get any one of them wrong, it's just not going to work. Like, it just doesn't.
A lot of people on Facebook are just monsters,
right? Yeah.
There's savages over there, man. I posted a video of, myself fixing an elderly neighbor's fence, right? And most of the comments on Facebook were just criticizing how I was doing it. Like, you guys,
classic.
Get a job. Yeah.
So,
I find that I never get criticized by somebody working harder than me.
yeah, too busy.
Yeah. And that's just not what people do. So if you're not working harder than me, work harder. Yeah. But
So yeah, that's why I
yeah.
do the course. So I want people to be successful at this. There's also a lot of ways that this not just could be unsuccessful, but I think that there's ways if people just go out here and try to bait, I would say maybe like way off base or maybe inappropriately, we could probably lose it real easy.
Yeah. So what are some of the guardrails that are up there right now so that we can continue doing this?
Big one is don't do it like in the valley. Don't do it, right on the neighbor's property line. Don't do it next to a road. You don't need people driving by a dead animal hanging from a tree. It doesn't look good. It's not much to look at.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Not only is it going to backfire and get a lot of public pushback, but it's also not going to work. There's I would say this goes both ways, but one of the benefits of baiting is it does target older cats, and you're not going to find older cats in town. So we want to move the older cats out in the mountains, out away from town, and free up habitat so that the younger cats don't have to go to town because they have to. While all the territories are occupied, the young cats either have to fight to the death for the territories, the older cats, which are probably not going to win, or they have to go to town and kill people's sheep and stuff. So those young cats are, I think, a lot less likely to take the bait because they just are.
Yeah.
I think that they can kill so easy. They're cats, so they don't need to scavenge. It's the old ones that start feeling like they're willing to take the risk, take a bait. That's
interesting. What are some of the ages that you've gotten back on the cougars that you've taken off baits?
I'm not real organized with this sort of thing. So
like that female you just killed, like her teeth were nubbin.
She's absolutely over 10.
Yeah.
But probably like she's real old.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
I've gotten a 12-year-old female and quite a while back. And this cat's teeth are way older looking than that one. So
yeah. Or just had a habit of eating rocks or something.
Yeah. Well, not that, but her actual that what do you call that line? That like
this
enamel line, or what is that?
Is it a cementum ridge? Well, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it wasn't just some of the toms that I get, they don't even have to be that old, but if they're just getting into, they just break their teeth, trying to take down elk and stuff. But that's one thing. They can do that at still fairly younger ages, but this one they weren't all busted off. They were just grown out. Like they were just like way away from the gums.
I've heard that a tom will hit its peak weight at age 3 or 4.
Yeah. Some of the big toms I've gotten have been about 4.
Yeah.
I've gotten a few old cats, but I've also gotten a lot that are just as big, maybe even they're bossier looking. They have the big front end. The older toms start getting smaller front shoulders and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. moderncougarhunting.com.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're interested in picking up baiting,
is that where
being successful quickly?
Is that where you sell the sounds as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So with the website, what I'm doing now, I was thinking about itemizing things and just kind of doing like a how-to video and selling my call files separately and stuff, but I think that will kind of limit things in the future. I would like to be a place that I can keep adding to. So this is a new website. Website's been around, but I'm doing it new now. So I'm starting to do more of the how-to stuff and the online courses. And this stuff's evolving all the time, and I want to be able to update things. I want to be able to publish different methods as those come up, which I'm going to do one on calling. I'm going to do one on thermal spot and stock hunting for those states that is legal. It's still legal in a few states. So I would like to be able to add that stuff. I want people just to have access to all of that. I don't want people to have to have everything all itemized and downloading separate stuff. And it'd be nice to build it if I can get things set up right. Maybe have some sort of I don't know, comment board or something, so that we can have like some public Q&A sort of stuff, or member input, so people can share their experiences on there.
Yeah.
And maybe we can like speed this up, and we can all
community
just like
building.
Yeah, because like I've been scaling up the baiting as much as I can as a single person with 2 kids and everything that I've got to keep up with.
Goats.
I think, yeah, right. I had to took them on the best walk this afternoon, but yeah, I think I ran like 30 baits last winter, and it's just a lot of work.
It's a lot of work,
but I learned a lot, and I figured out a lot, and but there's probably more to be done, and so I'm sure we can keep pushing the limits on this and go from same thing like with the thermal, which I'm getting there with the baiting now as well. You go from 10 days of hard work to 3 days of hard work, and that's kind of what's happening with the baiting right now. Is I've kind of broken that line where I'm real comfortable. I think if I put out 3 baits for the winter, I'll probably get a cat.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the work you're doing, and I know how much you put into it, and I know that you truly are doing it for the benefit of wildlife, and I think that's great. I encourage people to check this stuff out if they feel like it's for them. But man, we really do need your help. And when I say we, I'm talking about our ecosystem. Like our ungulates are not doing well. Our whitetail got smashed in the face by EHD last year. We have chronic wasting disease on 3 sides of us, if it's not here already. Our elk population is going down. Our mule deer population is going down. It's not a rosy future for wildlife, and there's not a lot that your average hunter can do, but this is something, and it's tough. And if you can hang a tag off of a cougar in Oregon, you've really accomplished something as a hunter, especially if you went out there cougar hunting and found a cougar. Like you are the most elite of the hunters in our country. But it's a challenge, and information is going to speed you up.
Information is the key. It's huge. It's a pretty amazing. The difference, it's going from, seeing that first cat in the dark as a kid and just having, no hope to like that. That's the only cat I've seen on accident.
Yeah.
And I've killed, I don't really know, but over 20 cougars probably now, in the last 10 years. And, I didn't find any of those on accident. So once your method's right, once you're on target and you're doing what you're supposed to, you'll turn them up.
Dude, you're such a beast. Such a beast.
I feel like this is really affecting the West Side guys now too. The cats on the mule deer on the Cascades, and even the Coast Range
and the blacktail.
Yeah. So I know those guys are really wanting to, just population wise, there's so many people live over there, and I don't know, they're kind of having the same problem now too. I think it just took a little longer, just because of maybe the vegetation and stuff over there, and they did start with a lot of blacktail to kill. So
yeah,
but I think it's creeping in over there, and
for sure, and people are feeling it.
Yeah, that'll be the next video I think I'll make is how to adapt this core sort of baiting method for the West Side.
Nice.
And make it work in a little bit warmer climate.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, dude. Well, I appreciate you. Good luck. Good luck with the course. Good luck with the rest of the winter, and hopefully we can get back out and do some more lion hunting again. That was fun when we went out the other day.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
we'll get back up there soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I threw that bait out. We went out on that hunt and weren't able to call it in, but I threw a bait out, and we've seen that cat twice now that we're going after, and so just a matter of time.
Try again.
Yeah, we did the call in, so now we'll just wait for him to take that bait, and then we'll just go up there and get him. He's a real nice Tom.
Yeah, heck yeah. All right, brother. Well, appreciate you, folks. Check out Joe's work. It's It's going to be cheaper than any piece of gear that you're going to buy to go hunting, and it's going to make a bigger difference in that piece of gear, more than likely.
Right on, James. Well, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I love your the other people you've interviewed and stuff. Giving us small town folks a voice. Yeah,
I love it. Best folks. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you to everyone who has taken the time out of their busy lives to write a review for the show and share it with their friends. I'm extremely proud of how intelligent, engaged, and adventurous this audience is. Original music for the Six Ranch podcast is written and performed by Justin Hay. Art for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatelain and digitized by Celia Harlander. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.